This segment of DelmarvaLife is sponsored by the law offices of Tunnell and Raysor.
How much time do you spend planning a vacation? A recent survey done by a national travel company found that on average, people spend about 16 hours. So how much time have you spent planning what happens to your home and belongings should and when you die? Or if you become incapacitated and you need someone else to make life-altering decisions for you?
Well, it's called estate planning, and it is important no matter how much you have. And according to the team at the law offices of Tunnell and Raysor, it takes only a few hours of your time. Attorney Melanie Burke specializes in estate planning at Tunnell and Raysor. She says it's something some clients find intimidating.
And it's just a legal phrase to describe people who need to come in and have a will drawn up, or perhaps discuss the need for having a trust of some kind.
In other words, determining how an individual's assets will be preserved, managed, and distributed after death, or management of properties and financial obligations in the event they become incapacitated. It sounds complex, but Melanie says the process is simple.
And really, it's just a lot of talking. People come in and we sit and talk with them for sometimes 2 hours. It just depends on how complicated their particular situation is.
The talk centers around a will and whether or not something more extensive is needed, such as a trust.
There are different types of trusts. The ones that we typically create here are revocable trusts, ones that you maintain control over.
But perhaps equally, if not more important, is the talk about financial power of attorney and medical power of attorney.
Those two documents matter while you're still here, you're still alive. In these documents, you get to name people who can take care of you and your assets if you lose capacity. Maybe you're in the hospital for a few months due to an illness, or you've become so ill that now you've lost the ability to manage your affairs. Your bills still keep coming in. You can't write checks anymore. You can't balance your checkbook. You can't pay your mortgage. You need someone who can step in and take care of your finances and take care of you.
The medical power of attorney assigns someone to make important medical decisions if you become incapacitated.
So that document allows you to name who your agent would be, and you can also convey your wishes of how far you would want your loved ones to keep you going if you find yourself in a sort of an end-stage condition where you're dying effectively.
Melanie says most people she meets with at least have a will, but not all.
It is also not at all unusual to have someone in their 70s or 80s come to us and they've never had a will drawn up previously.
Or they need to update their will.
Maybe they had one done when their kids were young and they were worried about, who would take care of our kids and our assets if something happened to us. But now it's 20, 25 years later, their kids are grown, now it's time to update their documents, and now they're thinking about it, so they come in to see us. But it's not unusual to have somebody come to us and they have nothing.
But Melanie adds, everyone should have a will.
If you have any assets of any kind, or if you have children, you really should think about having just a simple will created so that you can decide who will inherit from you if anything should happen to you. A young person isn't likely to succumb to a disease, but a young person can suffer from an accident, traffic accident. And if they leave behind assets and unfortunately young children, it causes quite beyond the grief that the family is going through. Now they have to suffer through, what do we do?
Melanie says a trust can help distribute assets in specific ways.
If you have grandchildren, or maybe you have grown children, but maybe you really need to put down on paper who's going to inherit. Do any of these children have issues where maybe we don't want them to inherit their money outright? Maybe we need to sort of build in some speed bumps over how they're going to inherit. That's where a document like a trust might come in handy.
If you don't have a will, it's the state that decides who gets your assets.
And the rules of intestacy apply, and the people who wind up inheriting from you may not be the people that you want to inherit your assets.
Helping you decide which legal route to take is as easy as scheduling an appointment with Melanie.
We start by giving you a questionnaire, and it's not because we're nosy, it's because we really do need to know things about you. Ideally, you'll have the questionnaire filled out before you come in for our initial meeting, and they're things that will help us get to know who your family members are, What are your assets? And then you bring that questionnaire in and we sit down and we talk to you. And I'll have a sit down initial consult with my clients that typically are an hour, hour and a half, and oftentimes 2 hours. Again, just depending on how complicated their situation is.
It's a solid plan, so you can rest assured knowing that there's peace within the rest of the family once it's time to rest in peace. Now, Melanie also suggests you check in with your estate planning attorney every 4 or 5 years to see if any changes should be made based upon changes that have occurred in your family or changes that have occurred with the types of assets that you have.
So I guess once you get the initial thing done, a change is like a minor.
Yes.
It's not near as much.
No,
There you go.
not at all.